Greetings, salutations. Welcome to this prophetic insights where we analyze current events as they are fulfilling Bible prophecies. Safe to Serve International, first-time viewers, welcome one, welcome all to this prophetic insights. Before we get into the pertinent topics here, friends, and the content, below in the description box, you will find a link. Click on that link and you will receive the flyer for our upcoming baptismal service as well as an evening of heavenly music. This is what you should see. All right, friends, there it is. Baptism and an evening of heavenly music. You have on the front page the actual special guests, musicians, singers. Also, the host and the co-hosts are also there. And on the back page, you'll find the order of service, the actual date, Sabbath, July 30th, 2022. We begin at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. You could see, again, the order of service. The address is there. I would love to have each one of you in person. 1415 Franklin Gateway Southeast, Marietta, Georgia, and the zip code 30067. For peradventure, you cannot make it, then join us online, and the link is there, which is actually right here on this platform. The Prophesy Again TV here on YouTube. All right, friends, there you have it. Okay, let's get right into this. So again, the actual link is below to get the pertinent information. Now, friends, several weeks ago, I shared with you that there's coming a great, massive food shortage. That is what I'm going to cover today. And to appeal to God's people to be prepared, be prepared, be prepared. Not just speak about preparation, but practically be found prepared in these last days. All right. Several weeks ago, during our midday power surge and Sabbath messages, I shared with you that the pestilence, the pox pestilence, that it was predicted to take place approximately 2 years ago. And I shared, it's right here, brothers and sisters, I actually shared the link. It was predicted, planned. They had a simulation in March of 2021. I won't spend time to play that video right now. I'm just going to move on from that. All right, friends? Okay, let's pass that. And we covered this and showed that they actually stated when the crisis would take place. And they stated it would transpire in the week of May 15th, 2022. And lo and behold, what transpired in the same week, May 2022, the pox pestilence. All right, brothers and sisters. They predicted it. It came to pass. Do you remember Event 201, the pandemic exercise, and what happened thereafter? There was a pandemic crisis. And friends, today I want to focus because many people are not paying attention. And today I want to focus on the Doomsday document. Yes, it predicted food shortages 2 years ago. Let's read some of this. It seems nothing escapes the prophetic minds of the self-proclaimed designers of the future. They accurately foresee natural disasters and foretell coincidental acts of God. They know everything before it happens. Perhaps they truly are prophets, or perhaps they're simply describing the inevitable outcomes of their own actions. The fact is that the World Economic Forum allies, such as the Rockefeller Foundation, have published documents and held fictional exercises in advance, detailing everything we are currently facing. So, while they pretend to be modern-day prophets, with answers spilling out as fast as problems appear, it's rather easy to make predictions when you are working an intentional plan, and quite simple to fashion solutions at record speed when you created the problems as a means to an end in the first place. Beloved, did you catch that? And remember that the true and primary puppet master is Popery. And what did Popery say recently? Prepare the future. Not prepare for the future, but prepare the future. Do you recall what the World Economic Forum director said, Klaus Schwab, about the future is being built by us? Listen one more time.
Let's also be clear. The future is not just happening. The future is built by us, by a powerful community as you here in this room.
And we're told, brothers and sisters, the same ones who claim to be bringing solutions are the very same ones who are bringing the disease and disaster until populous cities are reduced to ruin and desolation. Even now, Satan and his human agents are at work. Very, very important, brothers and sisters. And this Doomsday document is called Reset the Table. It sounds like the Great Reset. I know. Here it is, friends. It was called Reset the Table. And it's all about the upcoming food shortages, including how they plan to wipe out the meat industry in favor of fake foods. Get off flesh-based foods, friends. And the question is, are you prepared? Find out what you must do to survive against the upcoming onslaught. We're told looming food shortages are primarily the result of climate change and the war in the East. Yet, in July 2020, the Rockefeller Foundation had already predicted it and was calling for a revamp of the food system as a whole to address it. Do you see it, my friends? As we would say, that they were caught red-handed. And brothers and sisters, please remember what we're told about the sinister agenda of the Rockefeller Foundation. Do you not know that they are connected with eugenicists? And one of them was also the founder, chief director of Planned Parenthood, Margaret Sanger. Take a look at this, brothers and sisters. There it is. And who funded Margaret Sanger? The Rockefeller Foundation. Do you remember
this country?
The statement, no more babies, from Margaret Sanger? And by the way, what is prevalent now? Infanticide and feticide. Listen.
This country, having babies is the only thing left which is both unrationed and untaxed. Do you think we really ought to stop?
Well, I suppose a subject like that is really so personal that it's entirely up to the parents to decide. But from my view, I believe that there should be no more babies.
All right, back to the Rockefellers. And you know that they're connected with the secret society, the Bilderberg Society, along with the Pope of Rome. There it is, my friends. Pope Francis, the chaplain of the United Nations. Pope Francis and his so-called new economic reform that's called Economy of Francesco. And notice the black words underlined. Who is in partnership with Popery? The Rockefeller Foundation, along with MasterCard, when I covered this several weeks ago. This is fulfilling Revelation chapter 18, brothers and sisters. Yes, verse 2 through verse 4, particularly verse number 3, the merchants are in bed with Popery. Now, let us connect the dots between the World Economic Forum and the Rockefeller Foundation that published this Doomsday document of the coming food shortage. Both organizations are calling for a reset, and the members of the Rockefeller Foundation are also members of the World Economic Forum. Talking about monopoly, talking about a secret society. Look at this, my friends. Reset the Table is the name of this meeting and document. Meeting the moment to transform the U.S. food system. When was that published? July 28th, 2020. It describes how the pestilence 19 pandemic caused a hunger and nutrition crisis in the U.S. unlike any this country has seen in generations. Watch. According to the Rockefeller Foundation, the pandemic revealed deep problems in the U.S. food system that need to be reset. Reset the Table was published just 1 month after the World Economic Forum officially announced its plan for a great reset. And furthermore, many of the contributors to the foundation's paper are World Economic Forum members. A revolving door. They're all connected. All right. Notice, my friends, again, this paragraph is going to be another nail in their coffin that they planned. They knew about this food shortage and how it's going to get worse. Have you ever heard the term order out of chaos? Watch this. Mind you, the pestilence 19 pandemic was declared a pandemic March 11th, 2020. So by the time this Rockefeller report was published, the pandemic had only existed for 4 months. Brothers and sisters, 4 months. And while certain high-risk groups did experience food insecurity, such as children whose primary meal is a school lunch, listen, widespread food shortages in terms of empty shelves were not widely prevalent or particularly severe in the United States. The report also notes that it grew out of video conference discussions in May and June of 2020. So now, we are to believe that 2 months into the pandemic, these prophetic minds already had the future all figured out. Let me tell you something, brothers and sisters. What we're seeing here is another application of Matthew 24 and its fulfillment. The Bible has different sides. Amen. And in Matthew 24, Jesus said in verse number 24, "For there shall arise false Christs and false prophets, who shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they should deceive the very elect." Verse 25, "Behold, I have told you, I have warned you before." Remember, yes, the miracles, yes, the magic, yes, the sorcery, yes, all of that. But false prophets, here they are, my friends. So now, once we accept that they knew what would happen before it transpired, then logically, people are going to accept their solutions. And what is their end goal? What is popery's end goal? Tyranny. Yes, total physical, mental, spiritual, financial slavery. And then comes the national Sunday law, false worship. All right. Let me see how much more of this I should give you. Notice here, brothers and sisters, it says in the foreword of the document, the Rockefeller Foundation president also stresses that a comprehensive playbook, what? My friends, what? They actually have a playbook to address the food system would also need to address other issues such as living wages, housing, and transportation. Does that sound familiar? You own nothing? Don't drive on Sundays in these cities? A playbook? And that all of us, meaning the self-proclaimed designers of the future, need to write that playbook together over the coming year. Problem, reaction, solution. And equally surprising is that on page 4 of that Doomsday document, the foundation actually admits its role in creating the problems currently plaguing our food system. Beloved, this is the Hegelian dialectic at work. That's what we're seeing. They have a playbook. And that's why we're told in Great Controversy, page 589, yes, they will pose as if they have the solutions. It's because they are the ones who are guilty. They are the perpetrators. They are the tyrants who are creating the chaos in the first place, the disease and the disaster. All right? The document is very much framed in the Hegelian dialectic of problem, reaction, solution. Listen, friends, what it says. Naturally, this all ties into lands being destroyed, climate change, and trying to move people back into smart cities. Surprise! 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 Beloved, is this not what we saw in Genesis chapter 47 and verse number 21? 7 fat cows, 7 skinny cows in the days of Pharaoh. And what did Pharaoh do? Joseph do? He moved the people all into the cities. They're using Joseph's account as a model, counterfeiting it. Watch this, my friends. It goes on. It says, watch carefully, because now we're going to see the surveillance arm. Reset the Table basically describes how they intend to seize control of the food supply and the supply chain under the guise of equity, fairness, and environmental protection. One key to this enterprise is data collection. Watch this. They want to collect data on everyone's spending and eating habits. Listen, I'll come back to the last paragraph there. Beloved, we were told that this was the case. So now, the video I'm going to play from a rep at the recent WEF meeting is actually that representative from Alibaba. He's actually telling us, brothers and sisters, what has been written in that Doomsday document. Here it is. Michael Evans, listen.
We're developing, through technology, an ability for consumers to measure their own carbon footprint. What does that mean? That's where are they traveling? How are they traveling? What are they eating? What are they consuming on the platform? So, individual carbon footprint tracker. Stay tuned. We don't have it operational yet, but this is something that we're working on.
Yes, right. We don't believe you. And that was printed, documented May 24th, 2022. But all the way back in July 2020, that was a part of the Doomsday document called Reset the Table. I wonder what's on the menu. What's on the menu? Let me put aside sarcasm right here, friends. Let's move on from this. It says, again, data collection. Do you think they're simply trying to get all the areas in America and around the world to have access to the internet? Oh, because they love you. Oh, because they care for you. Oh, because, you know what? We want everybody to be on equal plane, all having access to society via internet broadband. Come on, don't be gullible. The primary purpose is to get everybody on the system, so with a flip of a switch, they can cut you off from society. 42 million Americans lack broadband access. That is essential to shifts to online enrollment, online purchasing of food, direct farm to consumer purchasing, telemedicine, teleconsultations, as well as education, finance, and employment. The paper notes on page 5, adding, quote, "This is a fundamental resiliency and equity gap, and we need to close it urgently." Now watch the commentary. As you can see from these paragraphs alone, they want everything to shift into an online environment, including education, medicine, and the buying of food. This, of course, makes everything you do far easier to monitor and track. That's it, brothers and sisters, to monitor and track. Beloved, if we do not see now, it's time. It has been time to get prepared to apply the 5 keys of survival. We are grossly in darkness, incredulous. Look at this, apathetic towards our spiritual condition, brothers and sisters. Now, this is another nail in their coffin. The so-called Doomsday document called Reset the Table. It simply states that they want all the global World Economic Forum members to work in tandem. There it is, my friends. Another key is to make sure global WEF partners in multiple sectors work in tandem to form a collaborative advocacy movement. Now, friends, I know what tandem means. Now, naturally, textbook definition, it's one wheel in front of the other wheel most of the time. So I'm wondering, who is leading? Who is the horse? Who is the wagon? The buggy? Who is the horse? My friends, all the world will follow the Pope's lead, the Popery's lead. Revelation 13. Yes, verse 3, verse 4, how much more? I'll give you the second paragraph. No, let me not insert anything. Listen to this, my friends. This is Klaus Schwab stating, the majority of the governors, prime ministers, presidents in the world right now, even members of various nations' parliament, nations' congress, they are all connected with the World Economic Forum. You heard me correctly. Let him say it for himself. Listen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I listened to my colleague's speech. I had a constituent that wanted me to ask a question about outside interference to our democracy. Klaus Schwab is the head of the World Economic Forum, and he bragged how his subversive WEF, World Economic Forum, has, quoted, infiltrated governments around the world. He said that his organization had penetrated more than half of Canada's cabinet. And I was wondering, in the interest of transparency, could the member please name which cabinet ministers are on board with the WEF's agenda? My concern is the deputy.
Order. I know that the member was in a really good question there, but the audio is really bad and the video is really bad as well. And I apologize. I don't know if the member. Okay, let's try again. The honorable member for Timmins James Bay.
Mr. Speaker, that member was promoting open disinformation. That's
open what? He called what the man was inquiring about disinformation. Is that so? Listen to it from the horse's mouth.
Debate. We have to call out disinformation.
We'll get into debate again.
When I mention now names like Mrs. Merkel, even Vladimir Putin and so on, they all have been young global leaders of the World Economic Forum. Mm-hmm. But what we are very proud of now, the young generation, like Prime Minister Trudeau, president of Argentina and so on, that we penetrate the cabinets. So yesterday I was at a reception for Prime Minister Trudeau, and I know that half of this cabinet, or even more, half of this cabinet, are actually young global leaders of the World Economic Forum.
And that's true in Argentina, too. Wow.
Yeah.
Sorry. That's true in Argentina as well.
It's true in Argentina, and it's true in France now. I'm with the president, who is a young global leader, but...
Okay, let's move on. And that's what we're told also is the objective of Jesuits and Jesuit affiliates climbing up to be counselors of kings, counseling parliament members, Congress members to shape the policy of nations. I'll give you one more. Ready for this? Listen.
Now you play also a very important role in preserving, let's say, your forests. You have a young population, you have a relatively well-educated population. You can use the fourth industrial revolution to create, let's say, fast-track growth for your country.
My commitment will be to add value. We'll be part of the Young Leaders Initiative.
This is Merkel, Tony Blair. They were all, even President Putin, they were all young global leaders before. So if I take you, if I take Chancellor Kurz and the New Zealand Prime Minister, the three youngest leaders of governments are here.
Brothers and sisters, this is not humor. Notice, and why can they make such statements? It's because they know the agenda is far in place already, and nothing will be allowed to stop this diabolical movement. And number two, the majority of the people are all drunk. Yes, they're drunk. They're focused on sports and music and Hollywood. That's why they know they can say what the agenda is, and the sheeple are so ignorant and so dumbed down that there'll be no protest, no spiritual resistance. By the way, let's move on. The pandemic was simply stage one. I wonder, what then will be the end goal? There it is, my friends. They said the pandemic was simply stage one of the agenda. And then they mentioned this is all too evident, especially when fact checkers, let me get this off the screen here, friends. When fact checkers are having to debunk the number of fires at food processing plants within the last year. Adding to this, the culling of herds of cattle in Kansas, as many as 10,000. Farmers are refuting this. Imagine that. Can you see why now? In other words, some of these these food processing plants being burnt down to the ground, many of them manufactured, I should say. Do you remember this in Kansas? All the cattle. Come on, brothers and sisters. So what will be the last act? It's Testimonies for the Church, Volume 7, page 141. It's the National Sunday Law. Listen, the food shortage is inevitable because it's an intentional plan. Yes, my friends. The WEF and its global collaborators have predicted the future with stunning accuracy, sometimes years in advance. And then when the predictions come true, they pretend as though they had nothing to do with it. Make no mistake, they truly believe that they have the right to decide the fate of the world, and that you and I have no say in the matter. They have the right to decide the fate of my friends. I recall the words of Nebuchadnezzar just before Nebuchadnezzar was an outcast. And what did he say? Is this not Babylon, great Babylon, that I have built That very moment, the kingdom was departed from Nebuchadnezzar. We are now seeing modern Babylon, the papacy, and her allies. Let's bring this to a close. All of this is to say, my friends, as Solomon would say in Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 13, verse 14, let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Paul would say in Philippians chapter 4 and verse number 8, finally, my brethren, let's conclude. All this is to say, do not doubt, please, that food shortages and famine are coming. It's inevitable because it is intentional. The same goes for energy shortages. They are intent on bringing us into the Green New Deal as it's a part of the Great Reset. If something, listen, my friends, if something is inevitable, it would behoove you to prepare for it. And then the article from the Wordling is telling us some basic items we need to have to get ready. The only way out of this intentional chaos is one, become more self-sufficient in the short term. B, number 2, create alternative parallel food systems locally outside of the globalists' control for more long-term independence. Right now, you'd be wise, like the ant of Proverbs 6, to address your own short-term food security and safety. Secure a potable water source and the means to purify less than ideal water sources. Buy shelf-stable and non-perishable foods in bulk. Buy energy backups. Get cooking backups. Start a garden and learn some basic skills. You remember several days ago, I actually covered, brothers and sisters, the 50 basic items, and that was a list from the world, just to give us an idea, a starting place of what needs to be done. It's a part of the 5 keys of survival: conversion, country living, yes, having food on your property, growing, storing up, amen, ministry, industry. Number 5, assisting others. All I can say are these words in closing. Amos chapter 4 and verse number 7, the Bible says, Amos chapter 4 and verse number 12, and because I will do this, prepare to meet thy God, because this is coming. It's certain, whether now or in the near future. Prepare for the national Sunday law crisis. Don't just talk about these things. Let's be found prepared. Let's not be like that man walking up and down in Jerusalem saying, woe to the city, woe on the church, woe on the state, woe, 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 woe. And that man perished in the same deluge that he predicted to come. My friend, while we preach unto others, I pray we will not be a castaway. We leave all into God's hand. All right? He would do what he would do, and he will strengthen us to unite faith and works. Faith and works by God's grace. We will resume tomorrow for our regular programming, regular service, midday power surge at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. And remember, in the description box, you'll actually find the flyer for the upcoming baptismal date, baptism, and an evening of heavenly music. It is imperative that we prepare.